I personally believe it's a step in the right direction. But, and I repeat, but, it must be backed by deliberate actions, disciplined management, and long-term investment. If we get it right, this won't just be a return of a train. It will be the revival of a system that can transform how Ghana moves, how Ghana works, and how Ghana grows. Well, the whistle has sounded again. This time, we must keep it from going silent. Let's all come together. Let's all monitor. To the people in Western Region watching me this morning, I say to you, let's make this work. Let's make the story to be told in the next few years be linked to us. That when we gave it hope, the whole nation received the impact, the ripple effect of the hope. We'll be right back after this break.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Back and stay safe. The National Petroleum Authority is cautioning the public to desist from scooping or fetching fuel from overturned fuel tankers at accident scenes. Do not get closer to the scene in an attempt to take videos or pictures. Inhaling the petroleum product is detrimental to your health. Worst of all, petroleum products are volatile and highly flammable, and a small spark can trigger a catastrophic explosion, causing deaths and loss of property. Call the Ghana Fire Service or Ghana Police personnel to handle the scene, or reach the National Petroleum Authority's contact center on 0302 550 380. Your life is worth more than a gallon of fuel. This Save a Life campaign is from the National Petroleum Authority.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
The General Jurisdiction 10 Division of the High Court in Accra on Wednesday, 15th April 2026, ordered the Attorney General to take over all prosecutions currently being handled by the Office of the Special Prosecutor, OSP, pending formal authorization from the AG. The presiding judge, Justice George Eugene Nyante Nyadu, further declared all pending prosecutions by the OSP void and awarded a cost of 15,000 cedis against the office. While full details of the case are yet to emerge, it is understood that the ruling stems from an application filed by one Archibald Hyde against the OSP. Observers believe the action is linked to ongoing debate about the prosecutorial powers of the OSP. Under Article 884 of the 1992 Constitution, all criminal prosecutions in the name of the Republic of Ghana must be initiated by the Attorney General or by persons authorized by that office. This has fueled arguments among some legal experts that the OSP does not possess independent prosecutorial powers. In a statement released shortly after the ruling, the OSP expressed strong disagreement with the decision, insisting that the High Court had exceeded its jurisdiction. The anti-corruption body said it is actively pursuing legal remedies to have the ruling set aside as quickly as possible.
Well, welcome back from the break to the studios. As I mentioned earlier, this is Current Agenda, your Saturday morning companion. We are proudly sponsored by Bank of Africa and NPA. Bank of Africa says that this month is opened its doors to all customers. If you want to update your documents, if you would want to review information on your file, you can walk to any of its bank branches so that you can update your records, so you become, or your information there is current, and then they can assess you properly and be able to recommend the needed or whatever right fit product or service that you require. You can visit any of its branches or walk into its head office at the Octagon, or you can also call them on their call center number 0302-429-333, 0302-429-333, or visit them on their website www.boaghanaghanainfo.com and engage Fafa. It says that if you are able to update your information, it has a host or it has a bouquet of products that you can choose from. It's Visa debit cards, it's Visa credit cards, it's dollar cards, and all sorts of digital products, so that you can, as we are entering the period of the World Cup, you can travel around the world, go watch the World Cup and be able to use your card. The NPA also says that if you visited any fuel station and you believe that the quality of fuel you got does not meet the standard, or if you think that you did not receive the right amount of fuel that you bought, or if the customer service experience at the fuel station is poor, don't argue with them, don't fight with them. Just take records of the name of the station, the location, and just call NPA or walk into any of its regional offices. If you're in Accra, you can go to his head office. It's along the N1 highway at Jowulu, and make a complaint. It says that if you have 48 hours when you experience it to make your complaint, and it would resolve for you. NPA says that customer service is at its heart in its operations. Well, so this morning, as we start the discussions, I would introduce my panel in studio, and right after that, we would zoom right into action. Immediately seated to my left is Samuel Harrison Kujo. Samuel is the programs officer at the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition. Are you guys called anti-corruption or anti-corruption? Or it depends on which country you're coming from? Well,
either of them works.
Any of them works for you? Okay. So, Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition. He's seated here this morning. He's a known face to this program, and I'm sure this morning he would be involved fully in our discussions. Next to him is Hamza Suhini lawyer Hamza Suhini. He's also a member of the NDC communication team. Lawyer.
Yes, sir, my brother.
How are you doing?
Well, we're surviving. Good morning to you.
It's always good to have you in studio.
I know, right?
Yes.
But it's good
why?
to be here. It's good to be here.
You know why?
Why?
When I see you in studio, I get hope that there's future for this country.
Thank you. That's humbling.
Yes,
That's
I get hope that there's future for this country.
I know that my brother would disagree, even though he used to hold such strong feelings when we were in university together. I mean, powers.
Why?
But I know he would disagree.
He would disagree.
With this,
Well, don't worry. When he comes to sit, even before Powers has come, you have already attacked him. Well, he's mentioned Powers. I'm sure Powers is also not a lost face to you. He's a regular member or a regular panel member. So I would also, in fact, I don't do a lot of introduction for him, because for him, we know him, we know how he holds on to his views. So, Powers, even before you came, Hamza has thrown it at you that you disagree that he gives hope to the nation.
Well, you know that's characteristic of Hamza. So, you know, he want to take the wind out of the sail before the
ship even sails.
I tell you, you know, but I mean, beyond that, you know, Hamza is a fantastic communicator. In fact, among all the NDC communicators, he's one gentleman who, at a point when he's needed to be neutral, he put the matters.
Among all the NDC communicators, you know.
Yes, exactly. And those I've monitored so far.
Right.
You get it. He put the matters where they have to be. You get it. But
my only problem with him is he likes fighting me. But I know it's bad. Okay, let me introduce Afuakwa before he starts talking. So Afuakwa, let me introduce you before you start talking. I also have in studio Enoch Afuakwa, lawyer Enoch Afuakwa. He's also a member of the NPP legal team. Lawyer, good morning.
Koyo.
How are you doing?
Oh, alhamdulillah, bismillahir rahim.
What does it mean? What that you said? No, I don't know what it means. I don't understand. And laughing.
Anytime I see my brother Hamza Suhini, he knows why I'm laughing.
Why are you laughing?
He knows.
Share it with us.
It's a non-disclosure. It's a non-disclosure.
Can you imagine that I used to be one of his strong campaign guys
on campus?
Wow. Yeah, he's my man.
Remember the work we have to do for him.
Yeah. Of course, he's aware. He's aware.
I see. But anyway,
he owes us.
He owes us. Today, for 8 years in power, he didn't look
I'm telling you.
So let's see what you want to do for him.
No.
So,
the subject matter he's raised, it should be on record that my party was in government, but I was not in government. Right. And now when I was entering, I saw.
It's okay.
A Land Cruiser V8 twin turbo black one, and I asked why. It's a minister in. He said, "It's Hamza." I said, "Oh, my brother, I'm seeing prosperity."
Okay, don't mind him. So, gentlemen, we are starting the discussion. Okay,
no,
gentlemen,
I'm not saying it's yours.
You know our plan for today, so don't let Afuakwa distract you. So we are starting our discussion. The first has to do with the OSP ruling, and then the anti-corruption drive of it. Now, last week we started the discussion at the High Court where a judgment was given, and it's being interpreted to mean that until the OSP, for that particular case, until the OSP is able to demonstrate that it has the express authority from the Attorney General's office, it cannot continue to prosecute that case. There's been a lot of discussions back and forth. There's been a lot of varying schools of thought on this. So we are also going to discuss it and try as much as possible to make it very understandable for you at home. So I'll start with Hamza. What is all this about? I mean, last week we attempted to explain, but why do we seem to be at this point when all the effort should be towards fighting corruption? Really, doesn't matter who fights it. Is it not the objective that matters?
Yeah, Kojo, good morning to you again. Once again, my colleagues in the studio, of course, our cherished viewers out there, and your production team for their continuous assistance as far as the life of this program is concerned. Kojo, the question is not whether it is relevant or not, the concerns being raised, and its linkage to our overwhelming commitment to the fight against corruption. I think the question has to do with the foundations of our legal architecture. And that is clearly rooted in the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. Regardless of how novel your intentions are, either as a people or as a government, in terms of the fight against corruption, if it is not rooted in law, that fight is one that you cannot support even going into the future. Because what that simply means is that any prosecutions or successful prosecutions that ambit or institution mandated to fight corruption achieves, if the legal foundation is shaky, anybody at all would be clothed with the legal authority to challenge him and even bring into question your successful prosecutions in courts, as far as many of these acts of corruption is concerned, whether those acts of corruption is concerned. But you see, Kojo, for me, I have said this on another platform, and I think that I'm repeating it on this platform, that for those who are raising issues about the relevance of the office, I side fully with them. We are at a stage, whether there is prosecutorial authority or not, the responsibility is on us to provide the office of the special prosecutor with that authority, even if it is not there. But it does not also mean that we should not have discussions surrounding it to inform future actions, not just in relation to that particular office, but in relation to many other offices that we anticipate might come up in our fight against corruption or any other facet of our national life. And so for me, that is my concern. Now, I have listened to many of our senior comrades, and even those within the fold of the New Patriotic Party, like the venerable former Speaker of Parliament, right? What's his name? Professor Mike Okoye, and that of one of the respected lawyers this country has ever produced, Aikwe Otu. Their position on the matter in relation to Article 88 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana was quite clear. They believe that the passage of the Act was clearly, or more or less, missed the opportunity to take advantage of Article 88, either through an amendment or something to that effect, to truly give independence to the office of the special prosecutor. So you can say that tentatively it agrees with the position of the Attorney General, as far as this matter is concerned. But I think that this Attorney General is also simply being consistent, because even if you look at the parliamentary Hansards, when the idea of the establishment of the office was before Parliament, he indicated his opposition on the basis of our failure to amend Article 88 or to provide in clear language in Act 959. Do I get it right?
Yes.
In Act 959, the express authority of the Attorney General handed over that authority to that of the Special Prosecutor to conduct his activities. He raised it, and he indicated that it could be by way of either, an executive instrument, yes, or something to that effect. That was not paid attention to by the then government. Today, citizens have challenged the constitutionality and independence of the Special Prosecutor. It is quite interesting that those views seem to align with the views of members of the National Democratic Congress and in this government. But it does not mean that the NDC or its members who feel that Article 88 is being breached want that particular office to be scrapped in its entirety. Absolutely not. Indeed, there were some who called for the abolishment of that party, called on His Excellency President Mahama to abolish that office, and he rejected that invitation. We all remember that he had even granted a public interview to say that, look, that office must be allowed to perform its functions. And that is the view we hold. as members of this government and as communicators of this administration, regardless of the inherent legal challenges that the office is being faced with, the onus is on us as a government to ensure that we give it the needed legal impetus to function as an independent organization tasked with the responsibility of dealing with political corruption. So government is not deviating, and the fact that these discussions are ongoing does not mean that this government is advancing steps to forestall the work of this particular administration. Absolutely not, Kojo. Right. Absolutely not.
You made a point about the fact that the current Attorney General's position has been consistent. I mean, we'll show on the screen the extract of the Hansard where he confirmed or he questioned the authority, as you said expressly. I think we'll be showing on the screen.
Yes, that's it.
But will the subsequent person or the LI, that's the
legislative
LI
instrument
2374, that states specifically in there that the office of the special prosecutor has the authority to prosecute. It says that the special prosecutor, if you can see on the screen, the special prosecutor or an authorized officer shall, upon considering the facts and evidence gathered from an investigation, take a decision whether or not to prosecute. Does this, because this is the operational regulation for the office, does this not give the necessary or the needed comfort we are talking about? Considering that this was also even altered by the then Attorney General.
You see, I'm glad that we have two lawyers on this platform.
Count yourself.
And so I'll try, yes, in addition to myself, three. But I'll try as much as possible to be as objective as I can be. Because for me, this is not a political matter. Yeah. It is a national call to action. Yeah. Regardless of the motives of the Nanado regime in establishing this outfit, the onus is on us as a government to ensure that we get it to function in tandem with our constitutional dictates. And so, based on that, my simple response to the question you have asked is that these are all questions the Supreme Court will determine. But as lawyers, we are allowed to express our views.
Exactly.
And for me, I have listened to both sides of the argument. I have listened to the Attorney General's angle and to the gentleman who is challenging it, argue that, look, there's a need for an express authority given to the Office of the Special Prosecutor by the Attorney General's office before they can actually proceed to prosecute. And they know, as lawyers, that there's what we call express authority and implied authority. And I have seen in this matter that the Attorney General's view seemed to be hinged on the issuance of express authority. And those who are arguing that if you look at the Special Prosecutors Act, in its form and in relation to the regulation you just read, those acts together seem to suggest that an implied authority had been given. It is difficult to disagree with them as well. Because we know, as legal practitioners, that we have express and implied authority. So on the basis of that argument, that's why I'm feeling that it is a Supreme Court that will determine. Because truly, if the Attorney General was the one who introduced the bill in Parliament to establish the Office of the Special Prosecutor, remember that it was not done by any other person, but the Office of the Attorney General. If they led the introduction and subsequently led the submission or introduction of the legislative instrument, again in Parliament, and gazetted it, then it presupposes that from the word go, an implied authority had been given to the Office of Special Prosecutor to go ahead with these prosecutions. As a lawyer, that's my understanding of it. Then it brings into the question as to whether that implied authority would be entertained when it comes to Article 88 of the Constitution of Ghana. Whether if you look at the provisions of Article 88, it required an express authority or implied. That is one question I am unable to answer. Then it also dovetails into another interesting leg of analysis. Whether in other acts where authority had been given to other state institutions like the CID to go ahead with their own prosecutions, an express authority had been granted in relation to those acts, or those authorities that were granted are also in a way implied. The Supreme Court will determine that and reach a tentative conclusion. But from where I sit, we have raised the legal issues as a political party. The time has come for the Supreme Court to tentatively conclude on the matter. I was a bit uncomfortable when I read the outcome of the judgment, especially from the High Court. I have listened to the views of many other people, Kojo, who are of the view that, oh, the High Court judge, since the matter is already before the Supreme Court, and at the back of the cases like Republic versus Anato and Co., ex parte Anato, ex parte Anato, at the back of those cases, some of them are of the view that, look, he should have not intervened. He should have waited for the decision of the Supreme Court. But there are those who also argue that what he did was not a matter of interpretation, but simply an application of the law. And that the question did not warrant an interpretative function. That's the argument of some people. Right. And remember, the law actually encourages that in terms of application. It's not every matter. Though ex parte senators seem to give an impression, if you don't read the case fully, you would feel that any time an issue of interpretation is raised, then it must necessarily go. But even in the judgment of that particular case, there was a caution that there are certain things that on the face of it, High Court can simply go ahead to do. So it is quite dicey. Dicey. But as to whether the complicated nature of it should affect the function of that particular office is one thing I think that we have to find. And I agree with senior comrade Martin Amido, where he says that for him, he doesn't think that the bone of contention has to do with the law, but the personality occupying the office. Because when they were there, the level of cooperation between them and the Attorney General did not warrant these questions that are being raised.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So, Afokwa, and Hamza made a point which was the question I intended to pose to you. Now, there are two things at play here. What sought to be expressly written, where now you say, well, this is what the law says. And also looking at it from the point that, well, it was a certain, or is the same office that today is contending was the one who laid both the bill and at the same time the regulation. So in this instance, as lawyers, maybe you advise, is it express that has more weight or implied?
Let me say a very good morning to yourself and to your strategic guests on this platform, and to our cherished viewers. And your cherished viewers. And we also humbly use, with your leave, use your platform to extend the greetings of His Excellency, the Vice President, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, to the good people of this country. Mahmoud Bawumia is not a Vice President. The former Vice President, sorry. The former Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. What have I said? He asked me, He asked me to use your platform to greet Ghanaians for him. It's a request, and it has been granted. So,
you are still within your time. So far,
yes, my brother Hamza Suhini made a point that the issue regarding the OSP is non-political. This is a political question doctrine.
I think what he said was that he doesn't want to approach this.
I agree with him.
Yes, so he didn't say the issue is not political. He said he does not want to approach it from a political point of view because it's a national issue.
Whatever form, it's a political question doctrine. And this one, it is only the politician that can answer. The trajectory of this discussion stems from the debate in Parliament of November 2017, where similar issues were raised. I pointed this to you the last time and submitted the evidence to you. The issue of quo warranto and all this, which is facing us today, were captured in the Hansard of Parliamentary Records of November 2017. There is a presumption in law that Parliament does not make mistake. The draftman, that is Parliament, envisage what they drafted in the now Act 959. They envisage it. It was well intended. And I don't see any shred of mistake in it until the Supreme Court of the land, the laws of the land, pronounce otherwise. The reason is that when the combined effect of Article 88.4, 88.3, 88.4, 88.3 clearly vests the prosecutorial authority of this republic in the Attorney General. 88.4 clearly suggests that the Attorney General can delegate pursuant to any other law. Any other law. Any other law is defined under Article 11 of the Constitution of 1992. Clearly define the sources of law of Ghana, which puts the Constitution of the Republic at number 1, Acts of Parliament number 2, subsidiary legislation number 3, and all other laws followed suit. The combined effect of section 4.2 of Act 959 is in tandem with Article 88.4, which suggests any other law. And Act 959, is that not a law?
An act of parliament, so it is.
It's an EI, an executive instrument passed by the executive. Is that not a law under Article 11? It's a constitutional instrument which is subservient to statutory provision with an act of parliament, which is number 2 in terms of the ranking of the laws of Ghana. Is that not subservient to it, below that, in terms of structure, hierarchy? Where lies the conflict here? The operational instrument, the LI. What's the LI? Is it 2374? So, clearly, there should be no conflict with the Learned Attorney General's office and the Office of Special Prosecutor. In fact, they are all working in federals of the state. It's a burden sharing. The OSP is a specialized institution created with just 2 mandates: to investigate corruption and corruption-related offenses and prosecute same pursuant to Section 4.2, Article 88.3, and its operational regulation. So if the AG feels that it needs some form of authorization, which is also legal to say, which he has the mandate to provide, must we fight among ourselves? Should there be a conflict of interest? Conflict of, should I use conflict of interest, Powers? Should there be a conflict of interest as to who does what? While they are all using the taxpayers' money in furtherance of the aspirations of the Republic of Ghana? Certainly no. But Kojo, you see, you remember sometime last year when my learned brother and friend, Roxanne Nelson Echi Dafiamapo, and some other members of parliament on the majority side attempted to introduce a bill, a private member's bill in parliament, to repeal the office of the special prosecutor, which we are told that His Excellency the President, John Dramani Mahama, made an intervention that stalled the similar attempt. It is upon this same basis that they now attempt to use the corridors of the judiciary to attempt to achieve the same intent.
How are you drawing this correlation?
Yeah, I'm drawing a correlation. I'm coming. You see, it's a down ball. You pick it one by one.
But you have a time period, so
yes,
your one by one might not finish. So.
Yes, it's a down ball. You see, I don't want to go to the background of Noah Ephraim Adamte. He's my personal friend. We know he worked with the Deputy Attorney General in his office, in his law firm, before he moved out of the law firm to establish his law firm. You know who is representing the state in this matter? It's the same Deputy Attorney General, my own learned brother and friend. He respects me so much, I respect him. Dr. Justice Remsai. Anytime we meet, we exchange pleasantries, we hug each other, we do all manner of things. Not beyond our professional dictates and ethics. You see the correlation between the same. And when this same process was filed at the Supreme Court, the institution that would be affected by the pronouncement of the Supreme Court, whether it affirms the position of the OSP as pertains in the OSP Act or say otherwise, was not allowed to join. That the Attorney General is the principal legal advisor of the state and represents the state in all matters. So the state ought to represent the OSP's office. And we are here seeing the how do I put it? The submission of the Attorney General clearly in tandem with that of the plaintiff or the applicant, the plaintiff hearing in this matter. But for the interventions of CSOs and other well-meaning Ghanaians to apply as an amicus curiae so that they also introduce the mind of the ordinary Ghanaian as to the effect of the combined effect of the legislations as enumerated on your platform, the Supreme Court will be seized only with the submissions of the plaintiff and that of the Attorney General and make a determination. Although they are not only enjoined to consider what is before them, because at that level in statutory interpretation, that is the exclusive domain or jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. But they can be swayed without other alternative views to make a certain pronouncement which may support the fight against corruption and corruption-related offenses, or may not seem to sit with the fight against corruption and corruption-related offenses in this republic. Kojo,
you land on that point for me, the next one.
Yes. Kojo, it is upon the basis that the Attorney General is a politician. He's a political appointee. He's a member of parliament representing the New Patriotic, the National Democratic Congress in Parliament. The former Learned Attorney General was appointed by the New Patriotic Party. He sits with the executive. And you have seen the cycle that when a regime leaves political power, the new regime then looks into the affairs of the old regime. And we call this political persecution. Oh, why are they arresting former political appointees? Why are they chasing them? Why are they doing this? And that it is victimization. They just want to weaken the opposition party and those things. It is based on this and the advice of civil society organizations, stemming from international best practices, that the Office of Special Prosecutor was introduced so that it will become independent as in its office. But in terms of prosecution, it is not, because we know that the prosecutorial powers is vested in the Attorney General, and the Attorney General and Article 884 delegate same to other well-meaning institutions to do some form of prosecution for and on behalf of the Attorney General in the name of the Republic. But in terms of its mandate, they have that jurisdiction. Right. We were comparing. I remember my brother mentioned that police and other people were also given some express mandate to also prosecute, because within their establishment instruments, it is not clearly stated in their acts establishing them that they will conduct prosecutions. Those institutions have no express provisions within their statutory regimes to say that you prosecute. In terms of the police, right, the powers of arrest, investigations, it ends there. In terms of other institutions. So under the circumstances, you need an express provision, an express legislation, right, to clothe you with the capacity or the jurisdiction to be able to go into same. But with the OSP, it is clearly stated within the Act 959 under Section 4.2. Prosecutions. Within the operationalization, its operational instrument, prosecutions. So it has two mandates: to investigate corruption and corruption-related offenses and to prosecute same. And this instrument or these bills were introduced by the Learned Attorney General himself, the one with the power, vested with the power, the office of the Attorney General. And even more so, it was the Attorney General himself, personally, that presented the bill to Parliament. Personally. So once you are doing interpretation, you look at the trajectory. This was not a private member's bill that myself, Hamza Suhini, and my brother Powets drafted somewhere, got the endorsement of some parliamentarians to present it before the House of Parliament, to cause Parliament to go through and pass it into law that we want to operationalize, and that we need some form of authorization from the Attorney General. This was clearly sponsored by the Office of Attorney General.
So take a sip.
And that he knew,
take a sip.
he envisaged.
When I say take a sip, now you are using more bigger words of me. I beg you. And
that we should not be following the NDC on this path. And I believe that well-meaning Ghanaians, you see, let me land on this point. That because the fight against corruption is a jus cogens, it can be well seen as crime against humanity.
What does jus cogens mean?
Oh, it's an international crime. Let me in its sense, it's an international crime. You see, it links with money laundering and those things. Because if you siphon money from governance, you can't lump all these monies into your account. Are you getting it? Because before you entered public office, you have how do you call it? You have declared your assets, and your asset declaration forms are there. We are aware of your earnings, your incomes, and those kind of things. So if huge monies go into your account within that period,
right?
How can you justify the source of those funds? So certainly, once it links and fits into the arena of money laundering and those things, it becomes a jus cogens matter. And once it's a jus cogens matter, we need not to treat it kindly. And because the international community frowns upon these things, that is why the NDC is treading cautious, trying to use other arena like the judiciary to be able to weave into it, to bring that, this is an independent judicial decision. Well. To say A or to say B, and that at the end of the day, it is not us, the politicians, scrapping it, but it is the cause of the Republic of Ghana. I believe that his lordships...
It doesn't look like how you started. Sammy?
His lordships will prevail. And look at the teeming Ghanaians. And look at the poor young people on the streets crying for survival.
The way Hamza is smiling
and fortify using their powers of interpretation to fortify the office of the special prosecutor to make it a stronger institution. I'm not the host is interested in.
Please, now my viewers need to hear one voice at a time. Please hold on. Thank you. As you say anti-corruption coalition. When you heard that judgment and the subsequent discussions and deliberations, how do you feel? Not you as a person, as a coalition. How do you feel? What do you think should be the best approach to this so that we arrive at where we want to arrive at?
Okay. Good morning to all of our viewers. I'll start off with where the Office of Special Prosecutor came from. So in 2007, some of us were somewhere in the university. Ghana, under no compulsion, ratified two very important documents. The first was the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. Our parliament then sat down and I believe read it. They considered all of the ramifications of it and ratified it. In that United Nations Convention Against Corruption, Article, I think 36, talked about each country on the basis of its laws establishing an independent office that was going to fight against corruption. Now, that 36 expressly asks that the office be independent and be resourced and all of that. Then, in that same 2007, Ghana signed up to the Africa Union Convention on Preventing and Combating Corruption. Again, not under any compulsion. Where I think Article 5.6 of that AUCPCC stated that, again, the state parties should make sure that we set up this independent offices that's going to help us to fight against corruption. So what the MPP government did in 2017, which was 10 years after we had ratified these documents was only giving voice to what Ghana had signed on to. And around 2007, when Ghana signed these things, Nana Akufo-Addo was the foreign minister at the time. So I believe he knew what these things were. And he was under the impression that having this office was going to help us to fight against corruption. Like Mr. Falka said, we have always had issues with in-regime accountability. Everything has been post-regime, and it allows for that political football. This one says we are being witch-hunted, that one says... And so our fight against corruption has almost always been politicized, rather than looking at the fight against corruption from a developmental angle of ensuring that we're able to save state resources and then use same for the good of the Ghanaian. So we set up this office. We clothed it with the necessary powers. The office has started work. And then we saw the various attempts to scrap the office. Right? One went through Parliament. People wrote petitions. The CJ found no prima facie issue. There was an attempt in Parliament. The president intervened. And then now there is this whole court issue. For us at the Anti-Corruption Coalition, it's not about the law. We are not seized, with the law, but with what signals that this whole issue sent out to Ghanaians regarding our fight against corruption. And international community. Well, yeah, maybe the international community. But to us Ghanaians, what this signal simply tells us is that we are unwilling to fight against corruption. It's the simple single message that is sent out to every Ghanaian, that this state as we have it is unwilling to fight against corruption. What this action has done is to introduce some kind of uncertainty in the mind of Ghanaians. And I said on another platform last year, the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, we did some work in 60 districts talking to Ghanaians about what corruption is, how it affects us, how we can fight against corruption, and the issue of the OSP came up. And Ghanaians are interested in having somebody who can hold duty bearers to account. And so, for us, if people have personal issues with Mr. Kissie Jaben, then they should find ways of settling their personal issues, but not drag the whole office along as though the office, because Ghanaians are simply now building some kind of trust in this institution. And the OSP will tell you that in the past year, a lot of reports have come into them. People have warmed up to them. People are now beginning to, okay, there is this office, let's tell them what we have seen. Of course, some of the reports are problematic because it comes without evidence and all of that, but at least people are building that kind of trust. So what what this whole action is doing is simply telling everybody that, look, we are unsure how we want to proceed. We are not serious about this fight. That this whole thing about fighting against corruption is something that we are not really serious about, right? And for us, that is a problem. Because again, if you look at our national security strategy, which we authored in 2020, page 19 of that national security strategy, we have listed bribery and corruption as one of the threats to this country. Again, we wrote that under no compulsion. But we sat down and we realized that if we allowed bribery and corruption to fester, then we are going to get to a point where, well, some of you older people saw our history where at some point you people were shouting.
Yeah, I'm part of the older people.
Ah, okay, well. Where at a point you people were shouting to some junior Jesus to let blood flow and all of that. But I think that those who...
I wasn't bonded.
Oh, you weren't bonded? Okay.
Well, I was young.
Ah, okay. Well.
Yes. So I didn't shout.
But what the authors of that national security strategy envisaged was that we don't need to have something like that happening again. And so if we don't want to have that, then we should be able to deal with bribery and corruption. And so if we have established this OSP as the vehicle to help us to fight against corruption, why are we now suddenly using the legal route to bring the office under control? Because if we say the office needs an express authorization from the Attorney General before they can prosecute, then these are some of the things that can happen. One, there could be a time the Attorney General would not issue the authorization, meaning that the OSP cannot investigate and prosecute anybody for any act of corruption based on who the Attorney General. They can investigate. You can investigate, but you can. Again, what is the point in investigating but not prosecuting? Which is what we have done to Shraj. Shraj could do everything, but Shraj has no powers of prosecution. Right. So, what's the point? We need to ensure that we allow this office to function in the autonomy. The most important thing that office has is the autonomy. Once we take it away from them and bring them under control, like I'm saying, one, an Attorney General can withhold authorization. Two, an Attorney General can delay authorization. And when we are fighting against corruption, timing is of the essence. Already those who are engaged in corruption are very smart people, always covering their tracks. We don't have the reverse burden of proof, and so the SP has to make sure they are able to prove the corruption in court. And then now we suddenly get an Attorney General who decides to, delay the granting of that authorization. Then where are we going? So for us in civil society, the issue isn't the law, whether it's Article 88 of the Constitution or 4.2 of the Act 959 or the LI. That is not the issue. Our biggest challenge is the signals we are sending out to Ghanaians. And frankly, the signal isn't pretty. Mm-hmm. We have to ensure that we tell the Ghanaian out there that, look, we are serious about this and we are working at it. But how we are going is simply telling the Ghanaian out there that, look, you guys are on your own. The state is not going to do anything against acts of corruption. And when we do that, then we start creating the seats for people to take the law into their own hands at a point in time, by which time some of these politicians who have their visas and everything may be flying out of the country, and we are left here with our wives and kids.
Right.
So for us at the Anti-Corruption Coalition, and in fact civil society in general, we feel that we have to get this office staying. It should be alive, and not only just being alive, but it should have the necessary powers to function.
Right.
In the future, we are seeing an OSP that is independent. And yes, it's good we have the Constitutional Review Commission working at it. So, I mean, memoranda has been brought to them and all of that about enshrining anti-corruption in our new constitution, if we do that, and all of that. But whilst that happens, we have to ensure that this OSP is given the necessary powers to act. If people have personal problems with the man at the helm, they should find means of resolving their personal problems, but they should not sacrifice the whole of this country on the altar of their personal problems.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Powers, where Sami ended, I will start from there. Is it a case of wanting to cut my nose to spite my face? Where, because Martin Amidu makes that point. He in his recent episode, he indicates that somewhere in 2024, when the Office of Special Prosecutor said that he had closed a certain docket, I believe it has to do with the Airbus, and then Attorney General asked for the closed docket. He disappeared from the country and only returned after the change in government. Again, he cites an instance where the current Attorney General also asked for a case docket, and I'm sure we even discussed it here, where the OSP blatantly told the Attorney General that it was not, if I borrow terms, he was not going to hand over that. Is it a case where, look, we have a problem with this SP, but we can't go after the SP, so then let's go after the OSP.
I think this is first off. Let me let you know that I disagree with the epistle of Martin Amidu because what he wrote were purely speculative.
He has 3 epistles. Which ones are you talking about?
So,
the most recent one.
Yes, the most recent one. So speculation. So he speculated because there is no evidence. Do you understand? Because I don't want to be invited into an arena where I will have to interrogate a mere speculation by somebody. I don't want to do that. Because speculating that this may be the cause of what is playing out, I will not could reduce myself to that kind of conversation. You remember, and I want to be quite clear because I've been consistent on this. You remember when the Fourth Estate released their report on this soul sourcing?
Yes.
Where they tried to invite Ghanaians to conclude that because this number of contracts had been single sourced, it means that there may be some underhand dealing, which was an invitation I declined.
Right.
In this case, I want to point out that I disagree with Martin Amidu's, let me say, 3 epistles on this OSP issue. And I've heard Sammy.
I agree with his speculation.
No, where he said he narrated some of the issues that may be the reason why the OSP is being in the news today. Okay. Do you understand? Yeah. Because he was saying that there were issues of the Airbus scandal and other matters. Okay. These are and I'm saying that they are speculative. I don't want to engage in it. Because if, to him, this may be the reason or the problem or the genesis of the OSP's challenges or the special prosecutor challenges. It's an invitation I don't want to be invited into. Fair. You get it? Could you have heard Sammy, and not only Sammy, I've heard many anti-corruption campaigners say that what is playing out questions Ghana's commitment to fighting corruption. Then I ask them, if people feel there's a problem with the law, must we sit aloof because we want to fight corruption? How do you fight corruption with an illegality? If people say that they have challenges with the OSP Act, you are saying that that amounts to eroding our anti-corruption efforts. So we should allow the OSP Act to go on challenge. Because I think if anybody has ever thought of the fact that the OSP is ever independent or autonomous, the person should go and read carefully Section 4.1 of the OSP Act, together with Article 88. The OSP is not autonomous and can never be independent. If the previous government had ever envisaged an autonomous or special prosecutor, then they failed. Because that was what was bandited around that time. But the Act as we have it, without a prior amendment of Article 88, there's no way anybody could ever say that the special prosecutor currently is independent or could even accept to be independent. Let's not dabble in that kind of conversation, because that is an overcorrection of the reality and the position of the law. The OSP can never be independent. I have heard many refer to Section 4.1 of Act 959.
So probably let me read the 4.1
yes.
And 2 for the viewers. So it's under the title Mandate of the Office. It says that 1, except as otherwise provided in the Constitution, the office is not subject to the direction or control of a person or an authority in the performance of the function of the office. 2, subject to Clause 4 of Article 88 of the Constitution, the office shall, for the purposes of this Act, be authorized by the Attorney General to initiate and conduct the prosecution of corruption and corruption-related offences.
Exactly. So Section 4142 plus Article 88(3) of the 1992 Constitution is clear. The combined effect is that the special prosecutor could never claim to be independent.
In fact, if you add the 3.2 says, subsection 2 shall not preclude Parliament in the public interest from requesting the office to investigate alleged or suspected cases of corruption or a corruption-related offense involving public officers, politically exposed persons, or persons in private sector.
So my point is that if anybody ever thought the special prosecutor is independent, the person is unminded about the act, the OSP Act, and Article 88 of the 1992 Constitution. And if the previous administration had thought of creating an independent prosecutorial body, then they failed. Because the OSP, as it's presently constituted or currently constituted, is not independent. And can never be independent anywhere. And the Supreme Court cannot clothe it with independence without prior amendment. Because you see, the position of the Constitution is supreme. And as Afakwa were articulated, Article 11 is clear. Nobody can amend the Constitution. And you see, Article 88 is an entrenched provision. And with the 1992 Constitution, we have two provisions. We have the entrenched and non-entrenched. The entrenched provisions will require Ghanaians to sanction the change.
It's a referendum.
Yes, a referendum. It means that it is a tax that has been left on Ghanaians, or a tax to be discharged by Ghanaians, not Parliament. It is the non-entrenched provisions that Parliament can change without even resort to Ghanaians. So let's settle this conversation once and for all. The special prosecutor, maybe per the drafting, per article, per section 4(1), as you read, if you read it, you get the attempt that they wanted the special prosecutor to be independent, but they failed. So they failed. So nobody, I want Samir and his team to understand that the special prosecutor, as we currently have it, can never be independent. He is, and could I always remind you, when this Xenophobia issue came, I threw a challenge to the Attorney General that recall the docket from the special prosecutor. And why did I do that? I did that because I was minded by these provisions that the special prosecutor is exercising the powers of the Attorney General. Which powers the Attorney General can recall at any time? That is it? No. You know what you submitted, I didn't. So you keep yours. Let me do mine. You get it? So if the special prosecutor is handling a matter which the Attorney General feels that it is not being handled well, the Attorney General has the power to recall the docket and take over. I don't understand. I disagree with what they are trying to bandit around, that the special prosecutor is independent. And Kojo, you see, the thing is, the issue about express and implied. See, this conversation is needless. If the Attorney General feels that the special prosecutor currently constituted does not have authorization, if we want to continue with our anti-corruption fight, what is the best solution? Give them the authorization pending the Supreme Court's decision. Is that not the simplest way of resolving the whole conundrum, the whole problems? What is the issue with, he has prior authorization, he doesn't have prior authorization? This conversation drag. And I can tell you, when it comes to constitutional cases, the Supreme Court tends to delay. It is only in exceptional cases, like Alexander Afenyo Markin versus the Speaker of Parliament and the Attorney General, where when the case was filed on the 15th of October 2024, within 12th of November 2024, the case had been determined. That was a miraculous case. But any other case, it can take more than 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. So if we are waiting, or if we ever think we are waiting for the Supreme Court to make a determination on this before we make headway, then Kojo, the surprise thing is that we'll wait forever. Because the Supreme Court is inundated with a lot of cases, several cases, which are equally important. So, Kojo, the simplest solution, I will appeal to the Attorney General. This issue about implied and express. Personally, I felt the Attorney General, the special prosecutor, had been given prior authorization. If the Attorney General feels otherwise, he is in charge. Grant the special prosecutor the right authorization and let them continue with their prosecution.
Right.
That's a better way of resolving the problem than this they do not have. That conversation, Kojo, will not move the pin. You get it? It will not move the pin. Kojo.
Make the last point so I go to Dr. Bonfe. I understand he's joined us on Zoom.
Oh, I see. That's fine. So, Kojo, let it be noted that, let it be noted that anyone who questions the constitution of the special prosecutor should not be seen as someone who is against the works of the office. If anyone questions the special prosecutor, nobody should conclude that because of they being questioned. I mean, you can talk about cases where there have been attempts to repeal the office. That's a different argument altogether. That's a political conversation I don't want to dabble in. Right. But to my mind, one, the special prosecutor cannot be independent. If the NPP ever thought they had created an independent institution, then they failed. Maybe it is in their dreams that they created the independent prosecutorial authority. They failed. And I'm saying that, secondly, the special prosecutor must, I don't want to conclude that there's animosity between the special prosecutor and the Attorney General. Because, you see, that would be speculation. And that's why I told you I declined the invitation by Martin Amidou to conclude that because of the Airbus scandal and other issues, there's evidence, enough evidence that there's bad blood between the special prosecutor and the office of the Attorney General. I declined that invitation. My appeal to the Attorney General is that, because I heard Samson Strass say, oh, they should write to us requesting authorization. In fact, that is needless. Give them the authorization.
Thank you. So, viewers, we've been joined on Zoom by Dr. Bonfair. Doc, good morning. Hello, Doc, can you hear me?
Good morning, Kwajo. Yes, good morning, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, Doc, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? I'm speaking from the center of Ghana in Kintampo.
Can I see you in the center of Ghana? Because I can't see you. So, Doc, if you can turn your camera on so I can see your face. Doc, yes, you could have been wearing
I'm in the room, so.
You could have been wearing a different jersey this morning. This one that you are wearing Manchester United. Wearing Manchester United.
Well, I am actually getting I am getting ready to go to church. So
in a Manchester United jersey.
Don't mind you, because we are united forever. And I'm happy to be united with my friends and brothers in the studio.
You should be wearing an Asante Kotoko jersey this morning. Anyway, Doc, so good morning once again. So, Doc, on the discussion of the gentleman, so he can hear me, the OSP and the Attorney General. Now, I'm sure you've listened to the discussion. My question to you is, if it's going to take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years for the Supreme Court to decide on this case, does it mean that within that period, the OSP can only investigate and present the dockets to an Attorney General's office, which already has a lot of cases pending in its office? Can they not give that interim express authority whilst we are waiting for the judgment, so that we'll know how to go in future if the judgment comes? But in between, can it not be done? Would that not make the public have confidence in these institutions?
Kwajo, let me begin by saying that this matter has been discussed and some of the issues are being overflowed. I could only listen to my brother Braco's submission. I didn't hear the others. My brother Hamza and
Afwakwa.
Counsel Afwakwa. But I think that largely, Counsel Kwajo Braco, or Kwesi Kwabna,
yes,
he and I seem to be on the same leg. But I want to precede my comment with an article that was penned in 2018 during the conversation around this OSP bill act, when it was then a bill. Now listen to this. I think it had just been passed into being. And the euphoria that accompanied it, especially when my uncle and the good old Martin Amidou was mentioned as the first special prosecutor. Quote, "We are only sitting on a time bomb. for an accused person to challenge the constitutionality of the law that created the office when the special prosecutor begins his work in earnest. Whatever the outcome of such a case, the effect on the office would be dire for our constitutional process. If such a case is thrown out, it will amend the Constitution regarding the amendments of entrenched clauses. If it is sustained, the whole process, time, and other resources, and in this sense, money, expended would have been a waste and a blow to the fight against corruption. Most often, such processes which fail the test of the rule of law are a product of political haste and attempts at populist show rather than seeking institutional transformation. You see, the quote, unquote. This was an article that was penned by yours truly in 2018. And what was it? It was about the constitutionality or otherwise of this special vehicle called Office of Special Prosecutor. Kwajo, the debate for the need for another office had always been part of us, especially from the 2000 general elections, the heated campaign between 98 to 2000, where there were calls based on the belief that the Attorney General had failed woefully to prosecute, especially members of the then regime, most of which cases had even been sent to trial and dealt with, and some people were dissatisfied with. So there was actually a promise by the campaign of His Excellency John Ajekun Kufuor to decouple the office of Attorney General from the Ministry of Justice. And indeed, an attempt was made in 2001 to do so by naming somebody for Attorney General and somebody different for the Ministry of Justice, until the attention of the appointer was drawn to the fact that Article 88(1) automatically makes the Attorney General a Minister of State, and in this case, the Minister of Justice. So that thing was withdrawn. And it went on, even to the point of President Mills allowing Anas Arimiyao Anas access as a private investigator to our cause. These are not my words, but the investigator himself and then Chief Justice Georgina Wood. All of it in the sense or the belief that our conventional or the routine and the regular law enforcers and law enforcement agencies and the Attorney General were not doing what we expected to fight corruption. But what came out of it? We all saw, and I'm not going to go into it individually. Then fast forward, even under President Mahama, something similar happened where I think it had started under President Mills, under President Mahama, special investigations at the ports by private, people who were given access and were given authorization to eavesdrop and record people somehow, you would say, contrary to law, and which amounted to entrapment and all those things. Then came 2017. His Excellency Nana enjoyed the full support of the people that, look, create a new vehicle, also supported by civil society organizations. And at the time, some of us warned that any vehicle you will create will amount to amending Article 88, especially 3 and 4. And we were relying on an article that had been penned by former Supreme Court Judge, the late Justice J.N.K. Taylor, when in 1993, the now called IOCO, Economic and Organized Crime Office, was being created then as the Serious Fraud Office. And it was published in the Legislative Alert, 1993, which was sponsored by, I think, IEA or CDD, one of them. August 1993, the unconstitutionality of the Serious Fraud Office. And in that case, we are only talking about the prosecutorial powers of the OSP. They also have the power of arrest, which amounts to the creation of a police force, contrary to Article 200. So it is not just about the prosecutorial powers. But here is my point. We are where we are because of the lack of principle and fidelity to the law and our hypocrisy. 1965, The Cause is Mankind by Hubert Humphrey, who eventually became Vice President of the United States. At page 25, he says that the law can be no better than the people who are called to administer or obey it. So the law is as good as us. When we were creating that office and people raised these issues about the amendment of Article 88 requiring a referendum because it's an entrenched provision, the current Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, used his intellectual prowess, and I will read the Hansard for you. I shared it with your producer. I don't know if he did. Share it.
Yes, we have it. We actually shared it with our viewers this morning. Yes, we have it. But I can go ahead.
You shared it?
Yes.
At column 1761, when the chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, Mr. Banda, had moved the motion for some adoptions of Article 88.4 into the Office of Special Prosecutor Bill, which is now the Act. Dr. Dominic Ayine rose after the move, and then the Speaker asked, Mr. Speaker, any objection, Dr. Ayine? Mr. Speaker, I wanted to propose a further amendment because we have not indicated the mode of authorization by the Attorney General. So I wanted to propose that she is authorized by the appropriate legal instrument. Mr. Speaker comes in, where appropriate legal process of authorization means what? Dr. Ayine, Mr. Speaker, for instance, she could do so by constitutional instrument, CI, or by legislative instrument, LI, where it will spell out clearly what the jurisdiction of the Office of Special Prosecutor is. This is Dr. Ayine. The same Dr. Ayine who is saying that the OSP has no authorization or has no power. He said that authorization could be done through an LI. Now what happened? In the same year, 2018, the then Attorney General Gloria Akufo, Miss, on November 26, caused the Gazette of the LI 2374, which entered into force or came into force on 22nd December the same year, 2018, to be altered. And at Regulation 11 of that LI 2374, this is what it reads. The special prosecutor or an authorized officer shall, upon considering the facts and evidence gathered from an investigation, take a decision whether or not to prosecute. So, by having offered the intellectual and parliamentary authoritative power to grant that office these, under the belief that you were authorizing it. And this is Dr. Ayine. Today you become Attorney General. And after exercising some of the reasons why people said we needed another vehicle other than the Attorney General, such as entering nolli prosequi, in all the cases that he was defense counsel when he was in private practice, before assuming the office of Attorney General, he now goes to argue at the Supreme Court that that office has no authorization. That is the highest level of hypocrisy, double standards, and inconsistency manifesting a sheer lack of principle, which amounts to nothing but undeserving to continue to occupy the office of Attorney General and Minister of Justice as he currently is. So you see, for me, whilst we await the interpretive power of the Supreme Court, as somebody is challenging the constitutionality of the creation of that office, I want to deal with what there is. And no matter what the Supreme Court does, we'll come down to bottom line what Justice Professor A.K.P. Kluje said in the 2010 J.B. Danko Memorial Lectures at page 143. That, you see, the Attorney General and the Minister of Justice failure to deal with issues of corruption has nothing to do with the law, but the occupants. Indeed, the Office of Special Prosecutor, if they will be fair and honest, have not undertaken to investigate all the cases that have been reported to them. They have been political about some of them, and I know one, because one of them, I referred the person to go and see the OSP. It had to do with corruption in chieftaincy, where some people had forged documents to create a paramount chief for the more traditional council. And I referred the person to go and meet the special prosecutor, Mr. Kisiaja. He went to meet him, all right. But as we speak now, no investigation has gone into that matter. And that person is parading around as paramount chief of the more traditional.
Okay, Doc.
So you see,
hello, Doc. Doc, if you can hear me.
That arise out of this. But I want to conclude on this. The
hello, Doc.
As it currently is. Yes.
If you can hear me. Okay, so Doc, I think this is what we are trying to decide between. Is the issue, or is the issue not to do with the person and how the person of the Dr. Ajabin is managing affairs, and not really about the office, so that we don't end up throwing the baby away together with the bad water? Is that not what, if we continue on the path we are taking, we would end up doing?
No, I disagree. Even Mr. Martin Amidu, as the occupant of that office, was problematic. He didn't investigate all cases that had been reported to him. He picked and chose. But the point is this: if the law is deficient, no occupant of that office can make it right.
Right.
But I'm saying that those who are the Supreme Court, the current Attorney General, must be exposed for his duplicity and complicity in this matter, for what he is doing at the Supreme Court.
Right.
Because some of us who held the view he's now holding argued that the law could not work without amending it through a referendum.
Okay.
And he said no. So we allowed that, okay, let it work. And I'm telling you that if he, the Attorney General, cooperated with the office, and the occupants of that office had been faithful to the reason, the morale, the philosophy, the principles by which that office was created, notwithstanding its deficit in constitutional fidelity, it would have been better.
Okay.
But both the law, with all those deficiencies, have been occupied by people who have also been inconsistent and unprincipled.
Okay, Doc.
And the Attorney General is adding to that with his double standards. That is the problem.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Doc. I'll come back to you. Back in studio, Hamza.
Just to take it from where my brother left off.
So we are just doing 2 minutes across. Then now we can move to the next.
You see, Kojo, I think that I listened to Dr. Kobna Benford quite clearly, and I was struggling to follow his train of logic, especially on the issue of consistency on the part of the Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana. What I saw, rather, manifested inconsistency.
So I think what Doc is saying is that two things. He, Doc, has been consistent from day one. He is saying that if you read the Hansard, what the Attorney General, the now Attorney General, then in Parliament, what he said was that when the Speaker asked where appropriate legal process of authorization means what, and the Attorney General said, Mr. Speaker, for instance, she could do so by constitutional instrument or by legislative instrument. So if today the LI 2374 actually gives prosecutorial authority, and that is what you suggested should be what to be used to define the prosecutorial authority, then why are you today coming and agreeing with the plaintiff that it does not have prosecutorial authority? So that's the point he's trying to make.
I am saying that I'm struggling to understand his logic. And perhaps the only explanation is that God is not a lawyer. Even the LI that references has been made to, there is no express provision in that LI that says that the Attorney General has delegated authority to the office of the Special Prosecutor. It is simply based on an assumption. And that's why I made a distinction between implied authority and express authority. Even that LI does not indicate a manifestation of express authority. The fact that it says that it can investigate and prosecute does not mean that an authority to do so has been granted expressly. And I made that point. And that was the reason why even Powers in his submission also makes the point that regardless of what the law says, if it does not conform with Article 88 of the 1992 Constitution, it simply means that the organization is one that cannot be termed as independent. Because even if it is the Attorney General who grants it authority, let us accept that for the sake of the argument. How does that make it independent from the Attorney General's office? Exactly. Have you read the EOCO Act? There are similar provisions in the EOCO Act. Just as we have in relation to the special prosecutor.
No, they were giving, yeah, there was an executive instrument. No, he's talking about the, provision.
I'm talking about the provisions of the Act. It's similar in fashion.
Yeah, it's similar.
You understand? And that is why I made the point that we have to look at existing acts and see how that mandate has been carried out. Can you say, on the basis of the EOCO Act and the executive instrument that accompanied it, that this is an independent organization that can prosecute without the authority of the Attorney General? No. You can't say so. So what was the motivation behind the setting up of a similar architectural institution? If indeed we wanted an independent organization, what prevented us from amending Article 88 of the 1992 Constitution? We saw the commitment of the government in relation to the creation of new regions. Because the government was committed to it, the government went through the proper constitutional provisions to do so. If indeed they were interested in creating an independent anti-corruption agency, what prevented them? And you see, I listened to my good brother, who represents the Anti-Corruption Coalition. And I have one advice to give. You made references to the UN Anti-Corruption Coalition, established in 2003, right? I hope. Yes, I hope I got that right. The bedrock of any anti-corruption fight is the law. That is why the United Nations itself decided to adopt a convention. And if you read extensively the convention, references are made to the legal importance of institutions that are mandated to fight corruption. So you cannot say, and you cannot mirror yourself in the light of that convention and sit on national TV and say that your focus as anti-corruption bodies is not the law. It is a dangerous statement to make. And it is a statement that undermines the very convention you seek to represent on this platform, or whose interest you seek to pursue. Because the foundation of accountability is law. Otherwise, we risk going back to the era of house cleaning, where individuals, on the basis of the assumption of what corruption constitutes, decided to take the laws into their hands under military regimes. It is dangerous. And so you ought to be interested. It's not just about we are fighting corruption. The institution fighting it must be grounded in law. It is in your own interest. So that we won't have state institutions going to court and they will be asking them for their authority notes or warrants of authority. Right. And you see, Kojo, yes, for me, I fully associate with the positions being espoused by my brother Powers.
Surprisingly, this one, you didn't think it was going to be the case.
No.
You already predicted that you were going to clash.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Today you've agreed.
I followed his arguments.
He knows my position.
Yes, I followed his arguments on this.
He knows my position, man.
But you see, the reason why I believe so, because I also feel that the office is not rooted in independence. And I made that argument. And it was even Haruna Idrisu, as minority leader in 2017, who also raised these arguments in Parliament when they were considering the bill. But the NPP decided not to pay attention to us.
Okay.
Because at the time, we were being branded as what? Being against the corruption fight. And that is the same war that is being waged now in our effort to reset. Please, Kojo, I beg you, I need a minute. In our effort to reset an institution that they have created without warrant. My brother sought to give some measure of credit to the NPP and the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in particular, when he made references to the fact that possibly because Nana Addo was Attorney General and the UN Convention came into force, it was this idea of the special prosecutor was mooted to reflect that. Really? In 2010, what do you think informed the decision of the Mills Mahama administration to convert the Serious Fraud Office to Economic and Organized Crime Office? It was largely in line with that UN convention. Because when we looked at the Serious Fraud Office, we realized that it was lacking.
The structure was weak.
The structure was weak, legally. So in response to that, we created IOCO. We established IOCO in 2010. And for 8 years that they were in power, if indeed they were respecting the views of the convention, what prevented them from doing so?
Right.
Before NDC won power in 2008.
So let me
but finally, because I'll take leave of you.
So that's the reason why I've given you more than the 2 minutes.
Some measure.
That's why I've given you more than the 2 minutes.
Yes. And you see, Kojo, as for my brothers and sisters who are in the anti-corruption coalition, look, I was excited when I heard that they had joined the legal battle, because that is how you develop institutions. The Office of Special Prosecutor has been in place for about 8 years now. Reasonably, the nation itself must be interested in taking stock and re-evaluating the performance of that office. We are all pretending that the office has achieved so much in a matter of 8 years, and that touching it would bring to our anti-corruption fight, would bring our anti-corruption fight to a standstill. But in reality, even without these legalities, shouldn't we be interrogating the work of that office since its establishment? What truly have we achieved that the Attorney General couldn't have? Mind you, we are talking of an Attorney General under John Dramani Mahama, the one we are even accusing of being independent, that succeeded in prosecuting appointees of that same government, Mahama's first step. And many of them, some of them ended up in prison. The likes of the senior comrade Abu Kapele, done against his own administration. We are talking about an Attorney General that has been able, under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to put behind bars certain NDC former appointees. So, regardless of our views of independence, since '92, we have achieved some measured results. Can we say same of the Office of the Special Prosecutor that is actually established to pursue corruption and corruption-related matters? What is the tangible achievement can we make references to? These are critical questions that they should be interested in. I agree. By now, I would have wanted my brother to be pointing out that AOSP has achieved A, B, C, D. There is.
I wanted you to finish.
I'm sure he would say. But Hamza, because you'll be taking leave of you respond. No, I'll allow you to respond. Let me just make the point. No, I just want to make a point. Sammy, I'll definitely let you respond to what he's saying. But Hamza, because you'll be taking leave of us soon, I just want to take your thoughts on the next topic, which has to do with the freedom of speech issue, so that at least we'll go for a quick break. So please just hold on and just touch your view on that one before you go. But I'll just give you an opportunity because he spoke to. Oh no, sorry. Okay, so you what you wanted to say, because he said he wanted to count the successes of the OSP.
My
for the
time
agency.
is. I'll monitor him on my way.
That is
you monitor?
That is
I'll monitor.
That is not even material to the discussion that we're having.
I'm not going to say he should count. No, that's what I'm going to. I'm saying that even though he's asking you to count, what we are doing right now is not. We are not reviewing the office or the operations of the.
This
OSP.
country wants symbolism than action. That's
what we are saying is that. Make the point.
He made a point about
the Attorney General's office since 1992.
Yes.
Let's do some maths. From 92 to now, how many years has the Attorney General's office existed? Why are we suddenly piling pressure on an organization that has existed for 8 years? We are not against any review of the work that the organization is doing. I mean, we have to do that, correct the mistakes as they are, and then we move on. But let us not put this burden on them. Look, on the average, and they are lawyers. On the average, a case takes 4 years in our courts to come to a finality. On the average. So, if the organization has existed for 8 years, well, let's even scratch that. One of the biggest
things the OSP has done is to spotlight this fight against corruption so well. Now, these public officers are alive to the issues around corruption because they know there is a body that could invite you to come answer for your time in office. If it is the Attorney General's office, when one leaves and one comes, we can enter a nolle prosequi and then just quash everything else and then we move on with our lives.
Okay.
What we are saying at the Anti-Corruption Coalition is that we need this special prosecutor's office to work. And I mean, I agree with Powers in some parts that if you felt that it does, then grant it and then let them go about their work whilst. But what we are saying is that this independent office has got to exist and has got to work. Look, we are bleeding $3 billion every year due to corruption. Our Attorney General's office is overwhelmed. Let's allow agencies that we have set up to work to function.
Right.
And then over time, let's review what they have done. And then look, they will make mistakes. It's a baby institution. 8 years in its work, they will make mistakes. But then we get to learn from them. But this challenge where now we are going on about now suddenly every case that's in court, even for Yoko, people are now saying that they should bring the authority that they have. We are creating gaps. We are creating gaps for people who are minded to engage in corruption or corruption-related offences to escape. And this issue isn't about partisan politics. When it comes to corruption, we need to move beyond partisan politics. Let's think about let's think development. Let's stop thinking partisan politics when we start talking about corruption. Look, if we don't deal with this issue very well, we will just end up telling all Ghanaians that we are simply not ready to fight against corruption.
Okay.
And it will lead us down past.
Let me take a quick break and come back. I know you are heated. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll take the view of Hamza and Sami on the demonstration, and then the case about I'll allow you to speak your matter, but I just, because they are leaving and because he is here representing government, I need him to don't worry. Afakwa, I'm hosting. Permit me.
Allow you to make a point.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Okay, I was asking Afakwa why he did not go for the demonstration. He's saying that he was afraid they'll probably come and arrest him. So I don't know why he said. But Hamza, what's happening? Why are you preventing dissenting views. Why is the government preventing dissenting views on social media? The NPP is saying that the very thing that they tolerated, they allowed. All of a sudden, you came on the back of reset, and you are rather now preventing people from talking and just asking us to toe a line and listen at all costs.
You see, when you asked my brother why he did not participate in the demonstration, he said what? What was his response?
He said, he said they are arresting pastors, so you don't want to be arrested. If even pastors are being arrested, how much more political communicators?
That is a very reckless statement for a politician to make. Reckless in the sense that those who were on the streets, majority of them, I believe, were NPP supporters, who decided to join the call of their leaders to demonstrate against what they term as ills in our democracy. Characteristic of capitalist, what's the name, agenda. He did not deem it appropriate to go and associate with his own party foot soldiers to demonstrate. So he chose his security over and beyond that of the citizens or members of the New Patriotic Party who decided to rise against what they term as ills of society. So that tells you the kind of leaders the NPP is producing. I think you should be apologizing to your colleagues.
If you want to know. But chasing bill for a pastor you have arrested.
But you just explained that you didn't want to go there because you didn't want to be arrested. So they should be arrested.
I said you are
as party people.
Okay, so Hamza, speak to the
now to the issue. You see,
more chairs of
Kojo, we have said as a party that when it comes to the freedom of speech, it is a right we don't take for granted. Remember that even if you look at the life of the NDC, when the PNDC eventually accepted democratic governance, and the likes of Tarzan started their radio stations, I'm talking about Rekubo, regardless of the challenges, even on as far as the transitional phase was concerned, they were still provided with some measure of security to go about their activism, even against a military dictatorship that had transitioned to a democratic rule. So that tells you that, in principle, the NDC is not averse to issues of accountability and the rights of others to want to express their views on national developments. So when I monitored the demonstration, I was scandalized and disappointed. But I understood why they could not get the needed numbers. Because the people don't forget. Not long ago, they were not only going after NDC functionaries, but they were going after even social media commentators who were non-partisan, the likes of Bongo Ideas. He was abducted in the middle of the night under an NPP raid. May the soul of the former CPP chairman in Northern Region, Alhaji Issa Mobla, rest in peace, under an NPP administration. He was abducted by military men and killed. Up to date, no justice has come his way. Their record is known. But I can assure you that when it comes to the work of this government and President John Dramani Mahama, he has sworn an oath to follow the constitutional dictates of our country. When I heard that Baba Amando, whatever his name is, was picked up, I was outraged for what they termed as a caricature, whatever he had put up on social media. I did not think, and I still don't think, that it was enough for any law enforcement agency to go picking him up. Because even on our international platforms and well-established democracies, we monitor it.
I mean, we see what
there are shows in the United States of America and also in the United Kingdom where politicians are presented in certain light just to create fun. Nobody takes them on. So I was scandalized. So I needed to know whether indeed this was authorized by government. So I started placing calls. Only to realize that the police department has now set up what they call a cybercrime unit. And their job is to monitor developments within the social media space. And that 2 police officers who were on duty discovered that post and proceeded to escalate it by taking action. And so even if you look at the court documents, they were the witnesses for the, what's the name? They were the complainants as far as the issue is concerned. The police officers.
In all these political cases, the police are the complainants.
Wait, please. They were the complainants. You get the point? These 2 officers were specifically named. Now, you simply do not use that to conclude that it was the government that was interested in pursuing the gentleman. If you have any issue, you deal with the Ghana Police Service. It was not initiated by the Attorney General, and you have no evidence to that effect. In any case, if you are attacking the foundations of state institutions, under President Mahama, again, when the NPP took him to court in the 2012 general election, remember that certain members of the National Democratic Congress, including our current Deputy National Communications Officer, Ako Ghana and Co., had made certain statements against the judiciary. Their way of criticizing the judiciary. They were brought before the court and eventually, subsequently sentenced. And even with pressure on President Mahama,
the Muntie 3, right?
The Muntie 3, even with pressure on President Mahama to intervene, he made sure that he allowed them to stay in prison for at least a month before he exercised that power of clemency in terms of getting them out of prison. Because a month was enough period for them to reflect on how their activities could be injurious to the Republic of Ghana. So if certain things are happening today, that is more or less in tandem with the caution and the lessons we're supposed to learn from the likes of Muntie 3. It should tell you that this is not a government that is interested in the partisanship when it comes to many of these issues. Just like it did not stop or stand in the way of the courts when it was dealing with the Muntie 3, it will not interfere when it comes to the police doing its own work. But the MPP is also within its constitutional mandate to want to petition the president as the commander-in-chief of the Republic of Ghana to intervene by asking questions where it is believed that individuals' fundamental rights are being threatened. So in the light of that, I respect the demonstration. And knowing President John Dramani Mahama, I'm pretty much convinced that he will not take their concerns lightly. He would engage. And if there are issues that he needs to act on, be rest assured that President John Dramani Mahama will act on those issues. Could you?
Right. Thank you. Dr. Bonfe, let me take your thoughts on this, then I'll come back in studio to my panel. Now, Doc, this issue of careless and reckless statements, this issue of reckless and careless statements by political communicators. We saw it in the previous administration. We've seen some pictures where some people were depicting the former vice president with the head of a pig, knowing very well that he's a devout Muslim. We've seen pictures of people branding the current president in colors to depict that he's in support of LGBTQ. The interesting part is some of these people who do this, when the government comes into power, we find them being appointed to be responsible for state-owned institutions. Is it not a tacit way of acknowledging that the government or the people or the leadership of the parties support this thing that they are doing? And so the people get empowered to do it the more.
But I wanted to say something for Hamza to hear before he leaves. You see, the stone that lies in the ocean has been there for centuries. But water never entered it because when you break it apart, it is still dry. And that's how he's behaving there, in reference to what I said, that he claims he does not see the head and tail of it. But I can understand, because it is an NDC agenda under President John Dramani Mahama to do what Dr. Dominic Ayine and the Attorney General are doing to the OSP in office now currently. And I'll show you why. When you read the Hansard, mind you, Dr. Dominic Ayine was not only ranking of that committee, that select committee on constitutional, legal, and parliamentary affairs. He was also chairman of the subsidiary legislation committee of parliament. So when that bill came to parliament and was passed to become an act, it went through his hands. He was not against it. He didn't see it as inconsistent with Article 88. And you are talking about authorization. What else do you need from the act? And mind you, I don't support the idea that the OSP Act could amend or cure the constitutional defect of requiring a referendum to amend and entrench Article 88. My point is that Dr. Ayine, who was of the contrary view to what I'm holding out today, wants to jump to our side. And he's refusing to let the people know that he is changing position and he is being backed by the government. How? It was the majority leader, my big brother Hassan Ayarga, and another, the Fiamapo, who through a private member bill sought to, get the OSP Act or OSP law, changed. True or false? The president has no hand in a private member bill because it doesn't go to cabinet. How come that it was the advice or the instruction of the president that got them to stop, only to turn around and support it by backing a private motion at the Supreme Court challenging the constitutionality of the act? Let's get it right. And I'm saying that even me and those of us who are of the view that subsidiary legislation or an act of parliament cannot amend and entrench Article 88, who were ready in the spirit of fighting corruption to say that, okay, let's see how the law can work in practice as pragmatists. And according to Martin Amidu, he and the previous Attorney General had a good working relationship. What has happened that all of a sudden we are changing positions and we don't want people to admit or people to see that it is our inconsistency and our lack of principle that is making us come to where we are today. That said, now let me move to this issue and perhaps I can leave you to go to church. The issue of free speech was at the center of the 2000 general elections. President Kufuor, the good old gentle giant, promised that he would repeal the criminal libel law. Indeed, when he came into office, he caused his Attorney General to go to Parliament and get the criminal libel law repealed so that we can have free speech. Some persons have abused the free space and the constitutional provisions that allow for free expression of views and thoughts and so on and so forth. But the law is not helpless when it comes to injuring another person's reputation. The law has an avenue. If somebody breaches public peace, the law has an avenue. We should use them dutifully as the law requires. Than this, every now and then, turning our privilege of occupying state or public office to harass individuals or beat people up. And this is where we need to talk to the law enforcement agencies, particularly the police, that please, not too long ago, some persons in office threatened some of you that your positions were tied to political appointees. If today you are going to give reason why what they were saying could be true, I don't think that it is appropriate. There are good professional officers in the police service, and I know the IGP is one of them. Use your good office to keep the police administration in a good shape that will have a protected image and reputation that citizens can trust. There can be no better policing without the cooperation of the citizens. That said, those of us in the public space, we should be very careful and mindful of our utterances. That I get the privilege to sit on TV or talk on radio doesn't mean that I am a paragon of virtue or I am a repository of all wisdom. We must talk knowing that we could be wrong. We must talk knowing that there are others who hold contrary view and respect authority.
Okay.
Let's respect authority.
Doc, thank you very much, Doc, and wish you all the best as you go to church. And you pray for us and pray for our viewers. I think your microphone is muted, Doc.
Oh, who muted me?
Yourself.
I'm not saying you muted me. I'm saying that tell my brother Hamza that he should come home and let us organize our TILO and stop sitting on radio and bantering with his big brother as he's doing. He's agreeing with me in principle.
Right. Thank you very much, Doc. Thank you, and wish you a wonderful Saturday.
Thank you.
Afakwa, you wanted to make a point on
the judicial decision.
Yes.
The matter of the Archibald's case, where the authority of the OSP to prosecute was questioned by the High Court judge, His Lordship Justice Nyante. You see, I have maintained that the judge veered into the arena of constitutional interpretation, where he has no jurisdiction to do same, because that is the exclusive domain of the Supreme Court to do under Article 130 of the Constitution. The respondents contended.
So, I mean, I think you made that point earlier. So, just to tell our viewers that because they did not get to speak on their 2 minutes on the OSP, so we are giving them the 2 minutes. Then now we move to the discussion on the freedom of speech. So nobody is, we don't get confused in thoughts. So Afakwa, please continue.
My brother Hamza was contending that the judge only applied the law, and I am of the view that he had it wrong because he had not gone through the full test of the ruling of the judge. That the judge veered into the arena of constitutional interpretation, where he set out even a question whether or not there is a matter for constitutional interpretation in respect of the issues that were before him. And even referenced, I think, paragraph 14 of the affidavit in opposition by the respondent, that is the Office of Special Prosecutor, to the effect that the invitation by the applicant to the judge to question the authorization of the OSP vis-a-vis Article 88.4 and Section 4.2 of the OSP Act clearly is a cause for constitutional interpretation, because same is within the province of the Supreme Court. And the judge said no. The judge quoted a position that the Supreme Court has departed from in the Republic versus May Kankai and others, 1971, 2 Ghana Law Report at page 473, to the effect that when the language of the legal text is clear, it only calls for application and not interpretation. So according to the judge, the language of Article 88.4 was clear.
It's clear.
And the language of Article Section 4.2 of the OSP Act at 957 is clear. This is what Justice Tatuguba, in the ex parte Xenophobia case, said that the mere fact that the trial High Court judge, Justice Kwekuti Akabuafo, in respect of the Xenophobia case, said the provision under Article 94 was clear, that Xenophobia was not a registered voter and that he applied the Constitution, was amounted to interpretation of the Constitution, and that the High Court had no jurisdiction to interpret Article 90,
to be clear,
Article 94, as His Lordship Justice Kwekuti Akabuafo did. Similarly, this is the same position of Justice Nyante sitting as the High Court, as a judge in the High Court. So clearly, it is an area exclusively reserved for the Supreme Court, and he veered into it without jurisdiction.
Right.
And that has thrown all of us into the state of absurdity that we find ourselves today. That we are all ascribing rival meanings pursuant to the decision of the judge to the provision of Article 88.4 and Section 4.2 of the OSP, the OSP's Act. So clearly, to me, there's the OSP Act. I have not seen any fault to the OSP Act, because 88.4 says that must be authorized in accordance with any other law. And the OSP Act is part of the any other laws that we have pursuant to Article 11 of the Constitution.
Right.
So where lies the disdain? And in any case, if the late Attorney General is minded to fight corruption, this should not be a subject of a controversy.
Right.
How many minutes or hours does it take to issue an EI, an executive instrument, giving authorization to delegate powers of prosecution to an institution to prosecute pursuant to the mandate of the Attorney General? When it comes to the mandate of the Attorney General in terms of criminal prosecutions, yeah, that is the exclusive domain of the Attorney General. There is no dispute about that. But 4 gives room for delegation of that function. And similarly, like we have mentioned, the police is benefiting from Article 884. SNIT prosecutions are benefiting from Article 884. You can have rival contentions that people, other well-meaning lawyers may also suggest that they have express authorization, being it a letter, being it a warrant, being it whatsoever. In those establishment instruments, they have no clear provision stated in it in terms of that prosecutorial authority, because SNIT has the mandate to what? Mobilize contributions. SNIT contributions, that is their mandate. When you go to the powers of the police under the Police Act, it is to effect that to arrest and to prevent the occurrence of crime and those things. But the authorization under Article 884 went further to clothe them with jurisdiction or capacity to be able to prosecute on lesser offenses.
Right.
Misdemeanors, second-degree felony offenses. But when it gets to even the first-degree felony offenses, it is the domain of the Attorney General. And police are not even allowed to prosecute first-degree felony offenses like murder and those matters. So we must distinguish these things and look at the politics of the scrapping of the OSP vis-a-vis using these gendarme means and those kind of things.
Powers, your take on this, your bite, then we move to the next topic.
Yeah, quickly, I think the special prosecutor needs to be blamed for the current...
You mean the person?
Yes, the special prosecutor himself needs to be blamed for the current controversial debate. Why am I saying this? When you look at the case and the judgment of the High Court judge, he was not there. He wasn't. And on consequential matters like this, the special prosecutor should have been there. He should have been the one speaking on behalf of or responding to the application filed by Archibald, the applicant. Why didn't he go? He didn't ascribe any seriousness to the matter. He should have been there. Because when you read the judgment, I've always said that you can have a good case, a very solid case, formidable case, but if you cannot marshal the relevant evidence, the ruling will go against you. And when it goes against you, would you say that you had a good case, but the judge didn't decide for you? The name of the game is evidence. In fact, what my brother and many of my colleagues and myself have always said, that we believe that Act 959 gives an express authorization or gives an authorization to the special prosecutor. Now, this is ex post argument. After the judgment, we are making this argument. Was this argument made before the judge? Because when you read the judgment, the judge didn't create the impression that this argument was made before.
All these arguments you have made were not made before.
Exactly.
In other words, you are suggesting that somebody did not take the case serious until the judgment came.
Yes, the special prosecutor did. I'm saying that the special prosecutor, the man occupying the office, he didn't treat the case seriously.
No, it is stated in it.
That what?
Yes, that you see. I say the respondent, according to the judge, the respondent filed an affidavit in opposition on the 5th of February 2026, and on the 4th of March.
Which page are you reading?
Mine is page.
This is page 18 pages. So
page 3.
Okay.
So the 4th March 2026, filed the respondent's statement of case. The respondent deposed in the affidavit in opposition that it is duly authorized by the Attorney General under subsections 2 of Section 4 of the Office of Special Prosecutor Act 2017, Act 959, to initiate and conduct the prosecution of corruption and corruption-related offenses in Ghana.
What I'm saying is that the argument, you see, when you bring these two sources, it's not enough. Don't forget that we have even gone beyond that and even presented matters on has answered. You remember we even stated the conversation in Parliament. I'm saying that they didn't present enough or relevant evidence.
Right.
They cited, of course, they cited the airline, which I agree. But I'm saying that that alone is not enough, because the thing is that you must be able to convince a judge to secure his favor or to get a ruling in your favor.
So you believe all the discussions that have happened subsequent to this, if were presented, it could have?
I'm telling you, because you see, if they had made this cogent argument before the judge with all this evidence, I'm not sure the judge would have given the ruling that he gave. Okay. So I think in all matters and in all fairness, the special prosecutor, the occupant, should be blamed for what happened.
So since I'm on you now, let's go to the cry of I would say the NPP, that they are being attacked and being gagged.
It's unfortunate that we are having to discuss these matters, because I thought we would have made some progress. Looking at decisions of our courts, from both the High Court to the Supreme Court, that matters such as constitutional rights and freedoms should not be joked with. But we are here because of partisan politics, and also because some people are overdoing or over-discharging their responsibilities. Now, don't forget that the IGP has set up a special cyber vetting unit. A special cyber vetting unit. And I shudder to say that the special cyber unit, vetting unit, is turning Ghana into a police state. Yes, they are turning Ghana into a police state. In fact, this is a unit that is monitoring posts on social media. And every post, they flag every post that they see, they flag it. But they've forgotten that there's a boundary to the discharge of their responsibilities. When you look at Baba Amando, or what is it, Baba Amando, when you look at the cause or the reason why he was picked up, and even at a point, he had to be arraigned in a manner that created a whole controversy. This was not an issue they should have arrested him, in my mind. I saw some of the images where the president and some other senior government officials had been created in LGBT colors. But why? What is so peculiar about this? What is so peculiar about this? They should stop turning Ghana into a police state. Because you see, when you begin to vet every post and feel that, oh, you need to do it to please some people, you are gagging people's voice or people's voices. You are gagging them, and you are preventing them from exercising their freedom and rights. The IGP should rein in on his men. He should let them know that there's a boundary. Being mindful of the law, the constitutional provisions, and they should also be mindful of judicial decisions. That it is not every post that must attract your attention. And what was this Rambo-style arrest? What was it for? What was it for?
Was it a case that the judge was said to be pushing for a remand? I don't know, is it that case?
Yeah, that's the case. That's the case. I mean, what was this Rambo stuff for? And in fact, and the fanfare that greeted the whole thing. Sometimes the police try to, they try to oversimplify simple issues. I don't know whether they want to do it to please anybody, but your work is not to please anybody. You have to work within the parameters of the law, the remit of the law. But I monitored it and I was scandalized. I was surprised that the police are doing this. And the IGP is sitting aloof, perhaps protecting his job. We should not be heading to where we are heading. Also wrong what he did. In fact, we are saying worse. But political caricature, what is wrong with that? If you're an occupant of an office, if you are scared or you are afraid of being caricatured, why take their position? If you are scared of being caricatured, why take a public office? A public office, you will be assailed. And that should be, but you see, I'm not saying, I'm suggesting that because of constitutional rights and freedoms, people should be given the opportunity to breach the law. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there is a boundary. The police must be mindful of their responsibilities. It is not every inconceivable post that you have to come up and say, or issue an arrest, or arrest the person.
Let me show you a post that was done.
Malik Basintali's one.
Yes.
And he has an appointment.
Yes. In fact, I saw this post. Even at a point in time, Malik Basintali. This is a post put up by Malik Basintali with the former vice president holding a plate of is it
a plate with pork?
With pork, the head of a pig. The head of a pig.
Yes.
On a plate.
And a glass with beer.
So what I'm saying is that anybody who attempts to decouple the actions of the police from the government will miss the mark, because the police act under the authority of the government. And the police over there, they are not independent. So why do we say that this is the work of a function of the police? The police are working under the Interior Minister. Are they under the Interior Minister? Are they under the Interior Ministry? So they take orders and directions from the Interior Minister. So any attempt to decouple the whole controversy from the government will miss the mark. The government must let these police officers know that there's a boundary to what they can do. We have laws. We have judicial decisions to back some of these things. When people put up such posts, it should not attract the attention. They should look out, because people are using social media to cause chaos. Those are the things you should be mindful of. This one, in fact, Baba Amando was on I saw this on different people's platforms, different social media users. They shared this image. I'm surprised he was the only person picked.
Maybe they trace to be the originator, maybe.
Maybe then they should do their work, because I saw before his post, I saw one such post. You know, when I saw it,
he's not the originator.
I just glossed over. That's what I'm saying, that when I saw his post and the date he made the post.
You had already seen it before.
But then the ones I saw Sam Jata, I saw Felix Kwacho Fosu.
You didn't see the president?
I didn't see the president. So just imagine. I saw only these two individuals, these two government appointees or officials, but I didn't see the president. It was the subsequent ones that I started seeing that of the president. So what I'm saying is that the IGP's special cyber vetting, in fact, unit is turning Ghana into a police state.
Right. Okay.
And the time is right for the IGP to call them to order.
Okay.
There are laws in this country. They must not overdo it. Other than they will invite needless, petty politicization of the whole matter.
Okay. Thank you. Afaba, I'm sure the demonstration was not just only about the publication of this information on social media. It even has to do with the seeming attack on people who voice dissenting views or comment on issues that the current government probably campaigned on when they were in opposition. I mean, this week we heard of the CEO of the Free Zones Board, what she said in response to what the chairman of the Church of Pentecost said. But again, looking at you and your party when you were in government, it does not seem like you did anything different. Hamza gave an instance of picking up or being accused of picking up bongo ideas and other people when they also published dissenting views or they spoke against you. So really, why are you demonstrating about something that you showed how it's done?
Yeah, Kojo, thank you for the invitation to treat this very subject matter.
So now you make an offer.
Now you have to make an offer.
Yes, I'm making an offer. As I'm thanking you for the invitation to treat in respect of this subject matter. It is a worrying trend that in a democracy, the amount of ugly voices, they say, are better than the sound from the barrel of the gun. Whether pretty voice or ugly voice, both constitute democratic practices. You cannot elect to engage in democracy without a voice. I am amazed and awestruck by the conduct of the current managers of the Ghanaian nation, led by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who is a communicator or a communications person himself, evaluates the essence of communication. They have indeed turned this country into a police state. With full force operationalizing Section 76 of the Electronic Communications Act and Section 207 of Act 29 of 1960.
That's the false information.
It is true we have such provisions in our statute books, and laws are meant to be implemented. But if laws are meant to be implemented, it must be implemented without biases. Without biases. I can name or call out more than 20 instances where persons perceived to be belonging to the New Patriotic Party have been arrested in awkward manner and arraigned in bizarre circumstances in respect of some comments that has been ascribed to them, that they have made those comments on social media. You remember this young man, Muhammad Amadou Zakou, when the Minister for Government Communication issued a notice that Her Excellency the Vice President was unwell and that they have to immediately fly her abroad to seek medical care, and that this young man, who was raised by a single mother and so much attached to her mother, felt the need to, as it were, in a course of love, write something on his Facebook post that once our mother is going to rest, then our mother should rest well, not rest in peace. Rest well, Your Excellency. He was arrested in a Rambo style by operatives of the National Intelligence Bureau then. Now I'm told that a bill has been passed, renaming it to National...
Bureau of National Investigations.
Bureau of National Intelligence.
It's gone back to it.
That is Bureau of National Intelligence. Yes. The scene was chaotic. I'm a lawyer in that matter, so I'll not go into details. Just rest well. A platoon of military men were released to the premises of the National Intelligence Bureau then, BNI, to come and control party sympathizers and supporters who were disparaged by the Rambo style of this young man around Yahoo Clinic at Airport Residential in a bizarre manner. You remember when the unfortunate incident of the helicopter crash came? There were two young ladies, Charity Osu and Priscilla Duabrago and co. Made a post. They were on TikTok that theirs was a wish. No matter how the intent and purpose of their statement were, is there a statute that criminalizes wishes in Ghana? No. But morally, when you bring it to the moral conundrum, it was not right. I agree. But the way and manner these young girls were treated, remanded for 2 weeks. I am a lawyer in that matter, I will not go in. Even upon first arraignment, their plea were not taken. And a judge just remanded them. Upon persuasion from counsel that even if the court is minded to keep them in custody, they should take their plea because that is the requirement of law. It was not, Kwejo. Sir Obama A lot. Yaira, Bill, Fanti Comedy, you can mention. And I represent all these people, so I just don't want to go it. Recently, Pastor William Jima, Prophet William Jima, he's in custody. And the conditions that were meted out to him on the grant of bail, the bail conditions, 200,000 with 2 sureties, each to be justified with landed property. And because of justification, the man is still in custody from, is it 13th of April to today.
That's almost 2 weeks.
Yes, because of the justification. You need to authenticate the property documents from Lands Commission and those things before you can go through the processes. Even armed robbers, how are they treated? And the comment of, the alleged comments that they arrested this pastor on, I won't go into details. The pastor agreed that he saw divinity, this prophecy, sometime a year and 2 months ago. He took reasonable steps, went to Akia to pray for Her Excellency, even the Vice President. He had directions. All these are in his statement. He had directions to go to the hometown of the Vice President to perform some, how do you call it? Akwantre and those things, in furtherance of our mother. What is wrong about it? He's in custody. A post or an alleged publication that was made over a year and 2 months ago. But this same cyber security, special cyber unit, vetting unit of the IGP, did not see the post made by my junior brother, Malik Basintali, when he created an image of a Muslim, a certain vice president, then placed in his arm a pork head, the head of a pork, and his left arm a glass of beer to suggest that he's not a wedding Muslim. Up to today, the police has seen no evil, heard no evil. When they demonstrated at the forecourt of the Bank of Ghana and chanting Kumnana Domayen, Radu Kumnana Domayen, they did not say they wished Nanado dead, but they prayed that Nanado should die. No one was arrested for that.
That was the one led by Samiji Mfi.
Absolutely. Look at the statements, the descriptions. May Akufo-Addo live long. You remember the impugned Ejapadia document? Why were they not arrested in this manner? Because as of today, we still don't know the author of that document. But it was placed and discussed within the public space. Brought in a whole group of people that Chimamgokwa State created a national security issue out of this that threatened the foundation of this very country of ours. Nobody was arrested for it. And they are arresting people under bizarre circumstances.
Land in a minute for me, so I take a quick
My
break.
word to them is that there is no statute of limitation as far as criminal liability is concerned. There is not. We have none.
Crime doesn't expire.
There is no statute of limitation as far as criminal liability is concerned. So let them be guided by the precedent they are setting. And a highway. We pray that His Excellency John Dramani Mahamad's express highway that he has promised the good people of Ghana, that the Accra-Kumasi highway is going to be made an express highway. We pray that he's able to actualize this beautiful dream.
Right.
Similarly, when that express highway is constructed, all of us will drive through that highway.
Thank you.
So when this precedent is laid, we believe that it's all Ghanaians that will walk through this pathway. And it will be a guide for us. They should note that the elephant, one of the symbolic nature of the elephant is that the elephant never forgets.
Noted. Thank you very much, Lawyer Fokwa.
So we say they can kill us.
The elephant doesn't fear.
They can kill us. They can gun us down.
So we'll be taking a quick break before
they
I
can
do
cage
that.
us.
I would read a few messages from our viewers, then we'll take a break. When we come back from the break, we'll be using the last few minutes to talk about what is happening to Ghanaians in South Africa. I'll just take the viewpoint of each of the panel members, and then we'll call it a morning. So this message is from Samuel. Samuel says that Kojo OSP office is a waste of Ghanaian taxpayers' money. They should scrap it. Nothing good will come from it. Okay, this is Samuel. This is also from Rasbingi. Rasbingi says that the anti-corruption man should tell us the corruption case that has been successfully prosecuted since the OSP was established. The office was politically set up in a haste to go after NDC former appointees. It has overstayed its usefulness and must be scrapped to save the taxpayer from our taxes being wasted. Okay, that's from Rasbingi. Okay, this message has, okay, we'll pick up the issue. Thank you. This is from Evans Connor. He says, Kojo, so why have we tied the hands of the OSP and still asking it to work? We are only pretenders in this country. I'll not read the last line. This is also from Kwablavi of Pokwasi Benghazi. He says, NPP party minority caucus leader Afenyo Markin should know better. Okay, I think this has got nothing to do with what we're discussing this morning. I'll read this last one and I'll take the quick break. It's from Kweku Alapa. He says, Lawyer Fokwa should give us a break. If the one who exposed the Japadia document were to be arrested, they would expose a can of worms. So we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about Ghanaians suffering attacks in South Africa. We'll be right back after this break.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
If you are not a South African citizen, please leave our hospital. You need to go and seek medical attention from a private facility, not here anymore. This is specifically to the M. Good morning, my good doctors. How are you? How are you, my good doctors? Anyone who's not a South African citizen, just because of their this side, please stabilize them. After they've been stabilized, you can discharge them. These people, they have too much privileges to have files in our hospital. It ends here and it ends now. It's a public, it's a South African public hospital.
Right, so you just saw a few clips on what is happening to some Ghanaians in some part of South Africa. I've read some articles from the Joburg, from on Reuters, and it's supposed to be coming from the authorities. They have promised to crack down on the xenophobic attacks amidst the protests from Ghanaians. I've heard our Minister Foreign Affairs also speak, and then a few Ghanaians there. This is a developing story, and so definitely we know that within the course of the week more information will come up, but we'll try and speak to it in the simplest of form, knowing very well that whatever it is that we say here will go far and will reach far. And you can see on the screen how a Ghanaian is being physically brutalized simply because of the documents he's holding, questioning how a Ghanaian could get, for want of a better description, a work permit in South Africa. Now, we've heard the term xenophobia, so just to try and explain what it means, it's basically an irrational fear or a distrust or hatred of foreigners or strangers or anything perceived as foreign or outside one's own culture. And so the very moment you irrationally, you perceive or you fear or you start losing trust in foreigners or in things that foreigners do, or if you start hating them basically because they are foreigners, and then you hate them mainly because they do things outside your culture, then you are bordering or you are entering the scope of xenophobia. And so that's what we are going to discuss this morning. Why it keeps happening with South Africa, and because it happened some time ago with Nigerians who have traveled to South Africa, and now it's Ghanaians. Afakwa, I'm sure you've heard this story, and I'm sure you followed it a bit. What's your general reaction? I mean, maybe just 3 minutes, let's take your bite on this.
It is a worrying situation that the tenets of the African Union is being defeated by this conduct. We are talking about the free movement of goods and services, and if you go to the ECOWAS treaties and charters and those kind of things, if you go to the COMESA, the Central African Republic and those kind of Eastern Africa, their groupings and all this, you could clearly see that it is an attempt to create regional bloc. And in regionalism and integration is that we are integrating as a common people. So this xenophobic attacks clearly defeat the purpose of regional integration. You see, just look at the name of our Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It is not just a Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It is a Ministry of Foreign Affairs and regional integration. And regional integration. Right from the founding of this state, modern state called Ghana, regional integration has been one of the foreign policy tools of the Republic of Ghana. So it is not out of place that the first Prime Minister and first President of this country led to the formation of the Organization of African Unity, now African Unity. So seriously, when South Africa was going through apartheid, the contribution of Ghana, at a point they didn't even have travel documents, and the people of Ghana was supporting them with travel documents and other things. So you cannot visit the people of Ghana or the people of Africa in this manner, see them as foreigners. What is the community of Africa? The community of Africa is for Africans. So if you are talking about a xenophobic attack, then it should not be meted out to Africans. What is clearly happening in South Africa is an Afrophobic. It's Afrophobic, not xenophobic. Because apart from the African migrants, we have not heard that the white race are being attacked. Clearly. So once other races, other nationals are not being attacked but African nationals, then clearly it is an Afrocentric agenda. It is Afrophobic. And we must look at it in the concept of the defeat of regional integration vis-a-vis the African Union agenda.
Right.
Currently, Ghana has a visa, is it a visa-free policy or visa on arrival policy with South Africa?
Yeah. So free, the payment has been taken away, but you still would need the ETA, which is the visa on arrival.
On arrival.
Yes.
Clearly, it is just to improve on mobility of persons within these countries.
Yeah.
And if it is to improve the mobility of persons as Africans within our region, as Africans, and you get to this country called South Africa, and you hear of Afrophobic attacks, then clearly it defeats the purpose. It means that we should mind our own business, stay in our own corner, and forget the concept called regional integration, and use the monies and contributions towards AU in building our individual countries as we currently see ourselves. Is it not worrying that a small country like France will assemble all African head of states, over 50-something African heads of states, as a France-African Forum? Then, what's the name of the France president?
Emmanuel Macron.
Macron will just lead over 50 African heads of states in a discussion. If Africa should put ourselves together, we should be seeing ourselves having bilateral discussions with the European Union, with the United States of America, because America is not just a single state, but it's an amalgamation or unification of several states, like what we have in Africa. So clearly that there's respect upon us as a continent, as Africans, stems from within. That we Africans ourselves do not see ourselves as a common people with a common identity, that we must coexist. Clearly, I believe that diplomatic channels should be triggered in the resolution of this matter, because it is becoming one too many and a security threat to the cause of African unification. Because this is not the first time this is happening. It's happened, I think, on 5 occasions.
Yes.
On 5 occasions, if I remember, it has happened within the last 10 years on 5 different occasions.
I think this is the 6th one.
This is the 6th one. Yes. And we must put in measures to be able to resolve this thing. Clearly what they are complaining about as job losses and those things. We had this in our GIPC Act. Nigerians also have similar provisions in their act. Other countries in Africa, Cote d'Ivoire, they have provisions in their act that restricts certain type of trade to the local people. If that is the case, then we must have a way of ensuring the participation of foreigners within the space that foreigners are allowed to participate, and the participation of locals in the areas that locals are allowed to participate. When you come to Ghana, when you go to Tudu and other areas, you see our Nigerian brothers selling phones within the how do you call it, the arena, the retail sector, which is for local. Yes. When you go to the small scale mining sector, we will see our other African nationals, Burkinabes, Malians, Nigerians, and other people engaged. And more often you see these Chinese people and other nationals also within the small scale mining sector, which is exclusively preserved for Ghanaian nationals. And that if we also should visit these attacks on other people, it will create some sort of imbalance within the African country, and we must use diplomatic channels to resolve these things.
Africa is saying, African Union, we are supposed to be one community. We are supposed to migrate to bring progress. We get people moving to other places with their technical abilities. If you go there and you are going to be attacked because somebody thinks that the economic woes are being caused by your presence there, then really, what is this whole talk about African Union?
Basically, where Afwapa ended on, I think the issue has to do with whether or not non-indigens or non-South Africans can find themselves in the retail sector. I see this recent attack and the previous ones as one that has to do with that conversation. But they are not using the right process to have these grievances addressed. Because taking the law into your own hands and visiting mayhem on non-South Africans is not the best solution. Because I feel the law or the government must rather do the conversation rather than the people. Because I was surprised that citizens were asking people for their cards. To show their residency permits. Sometimes they even ask for your work permit. It means that South Africa is in disarray. For citizens to be doing this when they have president, they have ministers, citizens to move around, asking people for your passport and your card. It means South Africa.
You know, there's an immigration.
Yes, it means that South Africa is not safe. The country is breaking. A whole country. Imagine Ghana, that me, Austin, I will move about asking people for their passport. When we have immigration service, Ghana Immigration Service, when we have the police who support law enforcement, is it my responsibility? If this is happening in South Africa, then that country is in disarray.
Right.
If you're a non-South African, it means that the place is not safe. And Kojo, you see, let me simplify the conversation so that you can end. I listened to the Foreign Affairs Minister's response, and I was surprised. We need a decisive action on this matter. You know why? ECOWAS and AU have failed, including the SADC, the South African Development Corporation Community. They failed to give an appropriate response to this old and discarded behavior of South Africans. This old and discarded behavior. I think they should be decisive. South Africa should be placed under some sanction or embargo for this kind of repetitive attacks on non-South Africans. It is becoming one too many. South Africans are not, in fact, they are not hospitable people by their action. And this has not been, in fact, when they started these attacks on Nigerians, we sat aloof. Now it's on Ghanaians. Tomorrow to go to Ivorians. The next day to go to Kenyans. We must have a strong voice on this matter and tell South African government that they should put their house in order and stop these needless attacks.
Right. Thank you. The popular this is when they came, correct me, when they came for the, I think they came for the what? The communists, I was quiet. When they came for this, I was quiet. Eventually, when there was nobody to come for, they will come for. When there was nobody to come for, they came for me. We are speaking to our brothers and sisters in South Africa and by extension every other country, those seeking greener pastures, that keep yourself safe. Keep yourself safe. First, think of your safety. Once you leave home to go to work or go anywhere, think of your safety first. And also have at the back of your mind that there's no place safer than your home. If you feel for any reason that you are threatened, they said, baby aneha. So think of that one. But we are speaking to the African Union as well. We cannot continue to say there's unity in Africa when on the ground there is not. If you keep calling yourself a certain name, but people refer to you with a different name, then your name is not what you call yourself, it is what they call you. So if you keep saying we are united, but the actions on the ground does not show unity, then indeed we are not united. Thank you very much for the time spent with us this morning. My appreciation to Hamza Suhini, he had to take leave of us, and Dr. Bonfe also, who took leave of us. To Samuel Harrison Kujo from the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition. To my brother Austin Kwabena Braco Powers, a private legal practitioner, and to Enoch Afuakwa, a member of the NPP legal team. He's a lawyer. And to your good self, those of you who sent messages to us via WhatsApp, also those who sent on our social media platforms. Even though we could not read all, thank you very much. We appreciate. To those of you also watching and hearing us on radio, thank you. To Bank of Africa and to NPA, we also say thank you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.